let's add Geocoder to our application. Right now, whenever we create a new gig and have Denver, Colorado here, what I want to happen is for it to actually grab the latitude and longitude of Denver, Colorado, so that when we conduct searches, we'll actually be able to search by location. So what we'll want to do is go to our gem file, to gem geocoder, and bundle install it. I'm going to cancel our Rails server. Good. Start it back up. And what we'll need to do here, let's close out of everything first. Go to our schema. What we'll need to do is actually add float columns on our gigs table. And so to do that, I'm just going to go back into the initial schema. Now, really, when you're in production mode, you wouldn't go back and change your old migration files. You would actually create a whole new migration file and just add a column from there. But because we're still in development mode, I think it's perfectly fine to edit old migration files so that you keep it somewhat clean when you're still just in development. You haven't pushed it out to Heroku or you haven't pushed it out to production yet. So I like to just go ahead and make changes here and then just do a full database redo. So here, what we'll say is float latitude, and you have to name it these, latitude and longitude. Now to get this going, just rake db migrate reset, and what this does is it basically clears out your whole entire database structure and rebuilds it based off of your migrations. Now that being said, we're going to have to run our seed file again. So if we look at our schema now, we'll see that we've got the latitude and longitude floats in there. And we'll have to run this file again. And before I do that, let me see here. We'll need to add in location. Our location is here already. But because we have 10 users here, let's just say user is random 1 to 10. And then, do I want to add more categories? I'm going to add more categories here. 3 more. And just because it'll give us more data to play around with. So we'll say engineering, sales, and administrative. We'll say administrative. All right, let's add a few more locations as well. So instead of New York, we'll say Miami, Florida, and Austin, Texas. Let's get me one more. Boston, Massachusetts. So I'm just adding more data in here. So we've got our user right here. That's fine. Got 10 times create a user and 100 times do this. And what's going to happen here, and I'll just show you right now what happens. So do rake db seed. We're going to change this here and we'll just say 50. Let's not create 100 gigs. Let's just create 50 gigs. Rake db seed, we're going to get an error. I'm assuming we're going to get one. Ah, we didn't. Let me see here. Rails C. Ah, you know why we didn't? We have not done something that we should have. First, let's go into our gig model. And now we need to tell Geocoder to geocode this model here. And so the code to do that, and this can be found on Geocoder's GitHub page, is geocoded by location, and after validation, geocode. All right, Now let's just run these. Let me reset the database again and then run the rakedb seed file. I'll run the rake seed file, the seed file. And then what's going to happen is we're going to get these errors saying Google geocoding API error over query limit. And what's happening here is in our seeds file, Google limits the amount of requests you can make within a certain time frame. And with Geocoder, it's using Google's API to get the latitude and longitude for all of these different locations. And so when you're hitting that, X amount of times per second, Google stops you. So then whichever gigs you've created here, they're not being geocoded. So it's not going to have the latitude and longitude. So what I do is I put a little bit of a timer in between here. So I'll just say sleep 0.25 seconds. So sleep for a quarter of a second. And that's normally pretty okay. So let's just reset everything again. We'll create our seed file or run our seed file, and that should work for us. Now it's going to take a little bit of time, so a quarter of whatever 50 times is, that's how long it'll take, so 12 seconds for it to run the entire thing. But we're not going to get hit with Google's API limiting us to geocode. So fantastic, all of our seed file ran and we didn't get any errors. So now if we just do rail C and find our last gig, you'll see that the latitude and longitude have been populated. Alright, so now if we do a refresh here, it should all work. And the reason we do that is so that, the reason we've added Geocoder is so that when we do a search, so let's say I want to search for all Rails developers in Atlanta, I can do that. Not right now, it doesn't work right now, but that's what we're going to do in the next lesson, is in this advanced search here, have a category, have a location, have a few different parameters here so that you can really hone down what you're looking for. So that's the main reason we're using Geocoder.